Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. I thought today you might like a look at one of my current sketchbooks and perhaps join me as I continue to add colour to this first design. I think I've actually scanned this in, I'm not sure about the others, but either way it's going to be fine. So thank you for joining me, thank you for coming here, and we'll have a look at this, is it? So thank you very much. Okay, so this is the very first page, and the hand lettering up here is be patient, find yourself you will, be kind and gentle to self, and find your tribe you will. These have personal meaning to me, but I thought I'd share it because somebody's going to say, what does that say? At the very top you can see I've done a Huggins design. Here I've got, this is a variation of Mooka from Zentangle. These are some of my medieval leaves, and I've just noticed I haven't filled that little section in there. I'm trying to see where this one, right, yeah. So I'll do that while I think about it. And this one here, and I have been using coloured pencils for this. These are, I'm using a mixture of coloured pencils. This particular one is a Colour Soft from DeviantArt, which I particularly like. As they are soft, I can put a lot of colour down without a lot of pressure, which my hands are eternally grateful for. This is another Colour Soft. The brown I just used was a dark terracotta, and this is ochre, which is a yellow brown or brownish yellow. And then just to finish them off, I like to use a blending pencil, which just helps to even out the tones and to blend one colour into another. And that's just my way to do it. And I've done the same with all these sections that are coloured, using either dark terracotta, mid terracotta with ochre, and I'm also using two greens. I've got this one, which is from, it's a Brutfuna coloured pencil. I think these are the pastel set, and this is a willow green. And I'm using another Derwent Colour Soft, which is a Lincoln green, and they seem to go really quite nicely together. Here I did put some yellow ochre down and here, but they're fine. So that's one page. You see, this is Sand Swirl. I'm looking for anything else. There's Doodah there, Senna, but there's more than one Senna in this space. Oh no, there isn't. I think I just put, did I put a very big? Yeah, I did. I put a very big curved line to start with. Crescent moon variations. There's some, betweed there. That's sort of crescent moon. There's some, Diva Dance. I've seen this as a pattern, but I can't remember what it's called. And then there's my characteristic flowers and little arches and things, and patterns taken from Romanesque architecture and so on, which are my favourites. So this is Anti-Dots, some botanicals there that are like ginkgo leaves down here. And this is a kind of flux, I suppose. And I've got seed pods and all sorts. So I like things like that. There's this page, top one. I'm hoping that colour will help lift this, or shading. It represents how I was feeling at the time I drew it, which was all in weird pieces, none of which fit, well, they fitted together, but they're a really sort of random, weird place. I was drawing these at a particularly dark time in recent history for me. This one, I did do some patterns within patterns here, but I added ink tents with a water brush on the top, but there's still, you might be able to see sort of like almost echoes of the patterns there. So the pens I used were water soluble, but not all of the colour shifted, some of it remained. So I've got these kind of ghost patterns there, and I really like that. I like the way they sort of like, you look and you go, hang on, there's something under there. This one I haven't finished, but I was using, these are Graffy tints. And like, this one is finished, but look at the open space in it. That's so uncharacteristic of me. I like this pattern here. It's a very organic pattern. And some others. And a page of 4 here. Gentle to yourself. Have a gentle day. I've got this one because When somebody wishes me have a great day or have a wonderful day, have an amazing day, I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on me to have a day that I'm not capable at this moment of having, or that moment of having. Whereas if you ask me to have a gentle day or a day where you're kind to yourself, that's something I can manage, that's something I can do. And it doesn't feel unattainable and I don't feel this pressure put on me, which sounds daft, but that's where I am at the moment. Oh God, yeah, middle of the night, sleepy and weepy, what can I say? Told you, be kind to yourself again. This is a variation of the embedded letters that Zentangle do, but I decided to fill the whole of the square up with it because I can. Then I've got 2 whole page ones. I think I've shown this one, which I absolutely love this, and I love the black background with the white dots on as well. I like the way it helps to sort the rest of the patterns out and to focus on them. Still haven't done anything with it. This is another whole page one. It is actually landscape, so if I put it that way, you'll be able to see the whole of the design maybe. Yep, there we go. And I like that when I do want to scan this in before I do anything on paper with it, because I do like it. I haven't scanned them all in yet. These 2 are portraits, so I'll move them down as you can see them. So this one is really quite nice. I did this with the first of the Zentangle project pack where they showed this particular pattern, and I wanted to use it before I forgot it, kind of thing. I can't remember what it's called. No idea. It's gone out my head. But I added it in, and then I've got some of my arches and things, and I like my rocks at the top. I like my strata at the top. That needs patterns putting in it. Here's another one with some of those lovely seed pods that I did in Tracy's Tea with Tangles a couple of weeks ago, or similar to that. And I thought I need to use things like this more often because it gives me these spaces that I can fill with different colours or different patterns, or just with a background pattern. This is really nice. I like this one. I do need to use an eraser on it though, as I do down here. We've got some interesting sort of like flowery berry kind of things going on here, and I decided the berries I put in them I'd make kind of plump hearts with the bottom of them sort of like inside. I'm not sure it's worked. These have become a favourite, or became a favourite for a while. These are lumpy, bumpy, uneven seed pods or flowers or something, and I like these on the stalks as well. They make me happy. There's another one. Again, there's these here, but I quite like using just half a side of them. And I've done more spirals than Zentangle did because that suits me. And there's these kinds of things appearing again. Really like those. Seeds of growth, shall we say, as well as these. So an interesting melange of patterns here going on with crescent moon, and then we've got those fescues and auras and goodness knows what, and there's some of these spiraling things going on. They look like paper that's been curled. They're scroll work. And I find this an interesting filler pattern, just little flowers. And then this one up here, hearts with a little seed on the bottom. I quite like that. And then this one here, it is tall, and just random patterns. Somebody's going to tell me this is neurographic art, which I didn't think about, didn't realise until I'd finished. But it is what it is. And then I do like Huggins, and this one's interesting because I've added patterns, 2 different patterns. One that's very black, a lot of black with the Diva Dance, and then the Shattuck here is much more open. And then I've got these lovely seed pods at the bottom with my very architectural pipework column-like stems, which I like. And I started doing this one here. Perhaps I'll carry on with that one. That is definitely a possibility. Let's go and find a pen. Yep, there we are. I might go back and do some colouring in at the end then. We'll see. As I'm fertling around here for a pen because, oh yeah, it's like I'm really going to find one. There we go, an 05. So I don't really know what I was going to do with this. I think I was drawing this about a week ago. I haven't done much art in the past week, to be fair. I am struggling in some ways to focus and to get things done. I have good days and I have days that aren't quite as good. So if I zoom in, I'm going to draw another one of these on this side so you can see how I do it. So I'm going to curl around, going to go in, out, out, and then add that there. So it's akin to these, a little bit different because it's been a week since I drew them, but they're the same kind of idea. And I think I may manage to just sneak another one in, like so, just there. And I'm going to fill in the edge here with black and here. This is a lovely juicy pen. It's got to be a new one. I'm going to put a seed in there. Fill around it with black. And I'm going to do the same in places here. And I just want to add these seeds as little highlights rather than having a large expanse of black. It's a nice way to break the black up. And I do like little circles. I've had quite a busy shopping week online for pens and stuff. I've been ordering. Oh, ow! I've just moved awkwardly and I've hurt my back. Great, Angela, genius move. So I've ordered some boxes, not that colour, that's red. I want red. Where's the brown one? There. So I've ordered boxes of 10 of these 3 Staedtler Plus. This is a brown, this is an ochre, it's a red brown, I think it's, I can't remember what it's called, and this one's definitely olive green or dark olive. And these are 3 colours I use most often when I'm drawing. I want to add colour. So I thought it was a good investment. I don't know whether I'm going to buy any more. They are water soluble, so they'll be perfect for the effect I showed you on the one I coloured in with Inktense and then a water brush, and you get those ghost patterns appearing then, which I do like that, and that would be great. And I'd be tempted actually on this one to put some of these little flowers in with one of those pens, and then if I add colour it would wash them out and we get that ghostly pattern behind, but I'll see. So not sure yet, because I don't often colour things in, but for some reason I want to. I know why. I'll show you. It's one of these days of show and tell. You do know this, don't you? This is the folder that I'm putting things into. Or is it in there? No, it's not. Oh, this is my Zibaldoni, and I was doing this, and I'll zoom back out so you can see it. Oops, as we zoom in. I was doing this yesterday and actually finished drawing it. And I really do like this, and I really enjoyed using quite simple colours here. You can see the main colour theme is sort of like olive greens. There's browns in there, but I have added some pinks and blues and bluey greens as well for a bit of variety, just to see what they'd look like. And this is just on dot grid paper, which is why I chose pencils rather than felts, felt pens or brush pens or anything like Inktense or whatever. And I didn't want to use graphite, although there are some areas where there is graphite pencil, because graphite will smudge, but using anything more to this paper is not meant for watercolour, and so I'm not even going to do it. But I really enjoyed what happened here, and I really enjoyed the process of adding colour. So this one isn't going to be kind of a page with, because there's so many patterns on there, it's so busy, it can be hard to pick them out. So I am going to put patterns in a bit like pages like this, so I can flick through them. But I may look at them in a way of trying to organise them into groups or types. So I'm enjoying doing that. It's relatively brainless for me, which is a good thing at the moment. So I seem to want to spend a lot of time sleeping. So we've got things like that. A couple of other things. I've got one of these to finish off. Zentangle with Tracy on Tuesday. This was one tile that we did. I chose to do different patterns because I know she had Enzeppel, I know she used Tipple, and I know she used Nightbridge, but I did something completely different to one she put in. I can't remember what it was. And you might be able to see that there's actually some gold on here. There you go. Because, you know, brown and gold is classic. And filling in with other little patterns here. This is quite a big tile. I think it's 4.5. It is 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches, which is about, let me look, just over 11 centimetres by 11 centimetres. So I prefer to work on a bigger space because I can get a lot more patterns in. So I'm not a traditional Zentangler. I go along because it's quite fun and I get to try things out. Because that wouldn't be something I would ordinarily do, because I tend to work on a much bigger scale and things get very complex with me, so it's a good thing for me. This is the other one that we did, and it's similar to what others did, but it's also not. Well, we started with this line, then the semicircle, which I forgot to do the horizontal auras as we built up this arucas or arucas. And instead of doing poke root, which I think they were doing, I decided to put these seed pods on, but I need to finish this one. And yet, you might have spotted, yeah, I did use graphite on this one. Yeah, I did. Because, well, it seemed the right thing to do because I'd used colour here. And here you can see the two browns of the Staedtler. There's that darker reddy brown and the lighter orangey brown, which I like. And the same here. Love that reddy brown. And the reason I've gone for the Staedtlers is because it's nigh on impossible to get the brown Sakura pens, Sakura microns here in the UK. Or if you can, they're stupidly, ridiculously expensive. And so just looking for options to use. And I know I keep gravitating back to the Staedtler ones because they seem to work well for me. Okay, so I am going to start to put some different things in here. I wonder if I've got anything to show you in my other sketchbook. I often have more than one sketchbook on a go at a time. I'm not sure. Let me have a look now. And I'm waiting for a new microphone to arrive, as I bought some wireless lapel, or a pair of wireless lapel microphones a couple of weeks back, and the audio quality from them is dreadful, even though the reviews were really good. So I've returned those to Amazon, and I've got a new sort of one on a stand coming, a proper condenser microphone. So I hope that'll work. Today, though, you're going to have to put up with the microphone on my computer picking up my voice, hopefully. All right, so that's been something this week. It's frustrating because I can't even clean the sound up in the video editor, which I normally have been able to do with the other one to a degree, perhaps quite well. So we'll see how that one gets on anyway. It is frustrating. So I'm just filling this with one of my favourite kinds of patterns, and I'm just going to go looking for a finer pen, hopefully. Honestly, I kid you not, there's an 03 there. I don't want an 03, I wanted an 01. There's an 01. There we go, because that 03 that's in there is a bit, I think I've wrecked the nib and it's just not working right. So I think that one has to go out. These are Unipin pens from Uniball, or the Mitsubishi Pencil Company. They're fine liners, they've got pigment ink in them, very similar to Sakura microns. But I tend to prefer these, they seem to last me a lot longer. So okay, so we've got this one here. I'm just going to add some line weight. going to do that here as well, to the bottom and left of these leaves. Can't really do it with the ones inside because that wouldn't really make a lot of sense, but you know, the ones where I've got the black around, but here we can do that. So I'll add another arch here. So it's been a funny old week. Oh, the other thing I ordered today, I've ordered sets of equilateral triangle, square, circle and hexagonal quilting templates that go up to a fair size to put, don't ask, you will ask, I'll try and explain, to put a series of squares easily on paper or hexagons or whatever to draw within, or circles or triangles, maybe to cut paper out of. They do go quite large. I bought ones that are really quite large. One of them is I've been watching videos where people are doing what do they call it, sort of like mass sketchbook, mass square panel, I can't remember what it is, but they put squares onto a double, you know, page spread, a double page spread or single page, and within each one they're doing mixed media work, so collaging, paint and so on. And I like what they're doing. It's quite abstract and so on, but I like to try to do things on a small scale and then sort of like try things out and get ideas. It appeals to me, but it's working out the colours and so on. I've got all my distress inks here that I haven't used for ages, and I'm thinking coloured panels in those little squares with either blobs of colour or shaded colours or whatever might work well for me. Just a thought. I'll see what happens. This is what sketchbooks are for. And they do it with a colour scheme on the page, so use the same colours, perhaps a theme of motifs, and just try different ways and different things. But the little bits of collage appealed to me. There was one I saw, and the creator had used like sweet wrappers, gold sweet wrappers, little pieces of those to collage on. And I thought, how fun would it be to collage something on there, like a coloured, something like that, and then use that as the basis to swirl patterns out of and so on. So when I do that, I will show you what I'm doing. I just, not today, not here and now. And I also don't have sweetie wrappers or gold paper of any kind. So I'm going to have to hunt these things out. I think in this one, I'm going to do them differently because that's part of the fun of things like this. I'm going to add doodah, because it's one of my favourite patterns for filling borders. Not the only one. I do tend to like things that have come from Romanesque arches. And I think I need just another little arch going in here. I always try to put things in odd numbers, groups of odd numbers, because a grouping of odd things in odd numbers is very pleasing to the eye. It is. Your brain seems to like it. And I know why. It's all to do with, you put even numbers down, your brain spends ages trying to sort them out into patterns and groupings and so on. Just move that back over a bit. Just see if I can get it. There we are, that'll do. And it's just how your brain works. And there's not a lot you can do about that. But if you have it in odd numbers, it just can't do that. So I like odd numbers. This is a classic kind of sculptural pattern you'd find on arches in Romanesque churches. Oversimplified here because I've only got a small space, but nevertheless, this is what happens. I'm going to put them in there. Romanesque churches in the UK date back to 1066, after the Battle of Hastings and the Normans taking over the country. William the Conqueror won the Battle of Hastings and French monarchy was installed here. And along with it came Romanesque architecture, which is my favourite kind of all. rounded arches, really sturdy, often sculpted columns, tall, narrow, rounded arched windows. And there are some churches like this that still have wall paintings that remain on them, because they would have been very brightly coloured and painted. The sculptures, these would have been brightly painted and coloured as well. And it's sort of like the columns would sometimes have figures carved in them or intricate patterns. I just love it. I'm smiling as I'm talking here. And it's been so long since I've been to a Romanesque church to either photograph things or to sit and sketch. I love to sit and sketch if I can. A bit too chilly this time of year because they're often cold places. Summer it's delicious because they're always chilly inside. And yeah, I like things like that. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take advantage of this to draw that new Zentangle pattern. Let me look in my little book, because I have got it in there, just remembered. Now we'll tell you what it is called. It's called Wyfore, W-Y-F-O-R-E. But I think this is a nice place to put it because it will naturally fit in here. So I'm creating a Y shape with an edge in there, and then I'm going to spiral around on this side, and then on this side I'm going to do the same kind of number of turns of the spiral because we're going to connect them together. This bit on the top I'm actually going to bend inwards because I'm at the edge of my page, and then on the bottom here I am going to connect the bottom of this. I'm going to go behind this and over here, and it already looks like we've got something rolled up, but to complete this I'm going to go here, 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 there, and here, and here, and then we've got this wonderful kind of effect that looks like something is curled around, which I love. Okay, so I am going to turn this upside down because I can get a better. This is the problem with having big sketchbooks. I'm so tempted to start taking paper out of these, and yeah. So I'm going to add a little border on the edge here, which will look good. But I want to do this now on these sections, but I'm only going to do the ones like this one, and this one, and then this one, because these are the ones that would have curled in. Oh, I've missed one. Oops. Okay. There. There. No, I've got it right. Done it right here. There we go. Because these other ones would be, have I? Oh, it doesn't matter. That's how I've done it. I think I've got it wrong. It's okay though. I think I'm right. Because it will be that one, that one, that one. Yeah, I'm fine. That one, that one. Yeah, we're good to go. Like this. And then what I'm going to do is, instead of adding sort of lines inside these to suggest shadow, I'm going to do that with colour or pencil. And I've got one here, and I'm quite happy just to have that one, to be honest. Got my 05 again, and I do want to do something here that will support this, and I'm going to add the version I have, I suppose, of Mooka. It's something I see in arts and crafts, so I'm going upwards, bending back in a hook, coming back there, around, and then having that little blob. See this in medieval manuscripts, in arts and crafts movement designs and so on. I am going to fill this in completely with black here because I just think that will make just a little bit more sense. Help to separate these. I'm going to thicken this as well and add some ink there. I'll add some ink here to join it together. I'm just going to add some ink there just to thicken that to give it some volume. In fact, I think I need to perhaps thicken this one a little bit more. I'm going to finish my edge off here. Here. I'm going to go down here. I'm trying not to turn my page view. I'm blessed that I can draw in many different directions. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to fill this little space here with little seeds that's sort of overlapping, because that seems to be my best option for that space. I could have filled it in just with black, but I didn't want to. And this ends up looking a little bit lacy on the edge, perhaps. Something a bit different. There we go. Okay, for this one, I haven't done anything with the edges, so I'm going to go to the left and bottom of these shapes, which will help greatly. Left and bottom, left and bottom, bottom. And this one here is a bottom edge as well. This one, I'm going to thicken that at the top where it just curls around just to help with that feeling of movement. And I'm quite happy with that as it is. As I said, shading. Oh, this one will need some, as will this one as well. There we go, so that helps. And the background, I'm going to fill it in with some little flowers. I say little flowers, they are going to be little flowers. I'm going to do little 4-petaled flowers in roughly straight rows. And this is a pattern you'd find in medieval manuscripts as a filler pattern in the background. And I can sort of do that there. I don't know if you can see, but I'm sort of trying to get these in line with the top of this, so on. Perhaps. No, the middle at the top of the one. Yeah, you can see what I'm doing, I'm sure. That one's a bit not in the right place, and they're getting a bit bigger, but that's okay because it's hand drawn. I'm not aiming for perfection here. I'm just aiming for a cute little pattern, like so. And there'd be one there then as well. That would have been lovely actually to do in my water-soluble pens, to be honest. So we've got this one. I am going to look at where I can just pop in any others. That would be fine there. And I will just fill some of that up then with black, just to fill that in there. And here as well. So that one works quite nicely, I think. And I think I'll carry on in the same vein down here. Now I'm not going to try to, well, they will eventually exactly match up because this one will match up roughly with that one. And they may be a slightly different size and a bit wonky because I am now at the end of my paper. So ideally I want to move my book around, but not easy to do, especially when I'm filming anyway. It's a bit disconcerting and it is an awkward thing to do actually. So let's have a look here. So I'm staggering these. If you find it easy, you could actually have them in a grid. You could draw a grid in if you wished. I'm just freehanding it because I know that will work well enough for me today. And hopefully I'll choose colours or shading that will pop this towards the background of my design. There. So actually I quite like that. Yes, it's a bit messy, but I can live with messy. Right, I'm going to put my initials on the side. Let's see if we can get that there. See what I mean about turning this around? It's a bit of a mare. But here I will put my initials. So, and today is the last day of March 2023. New month tomorrow. We're a third or quarter of the year through already. I actually think this design would be really quite nice that way up. I think it would work in any which way. And this way it feels like it's supported then, doesn't it? This is growing out. And the bottom panels, the leaves will grow whichever way they wish. But no matter. So let's have a look at adding some colour. I'm going to use the greens I chose here. So on these, I'm going to put lightest green sort of around the edge, the top, and the smooth edge of these to begin with, using it more as a pattern than realistic shading. And I am going to put some of the lighter colour down the stem as well, perhaps down here a little bit, so I get variation in the shades. So I'm going to do the same here, like so. I've got these ones here which I'm going to do the same with. It's a little bit there, some here. And I'm not trying to add colour really smoothly and perfectly with these at the moment, because I know that my blending pencil, which I'll show you in a moment, will work really nicely. So this is the Lincoln green, which is sort of dark, mucky olive green. But it's a good enough colour for me to use. And with this yellowy green, they blend nicely together, and I can actually put some of the yellowy green perhaps on the top to brighten this a little bit if I think it's a bit on the darker side. But the blending pencil will blend them in anyway, so don't panic about it looking a bit messy at the moment, because it won't continue to look all that messy. And the paper in this sketchbook actually works really nicely with coloured pencils. It seems to have enough of a tooth on it, a rough enough surface, that it grabs the pencil, but it's smooth enough as well that it doesn't really wreck pens and ruin the nib on fine liners, which I find quite remarkable. I think these have become my favourite sketchbooks. This one's the Royal Talons, Art Creative, I think they are. But the Sakura ones are pretty much similar as well. The paper feels the same, it acts the same. It's just these are a lot cheaper than the Sakura ones. Not that it's easy to get the Sakura ones in the UK. Do not start me on this, because I will rant about it. Start to get political, and I'm art here. It's all art, darling. So I'm just going back and adding a bit more colour because it's looking a bit on the light side. And the nice thing about the blending pencils is that they leave a kind of a glossy surface. It depends which ones you use, but they can leave a lovely glossy surface, which actually makes the colours look a lot brighter than they are. I don't mean lighter, I mean brighter, more intense, because the shiny surface reflects light a lot better. I know what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you'll see the difference now. So I'm just making sure I'm getting enough of the dark colour there. I'm going to come back with the lighter green and just go over the darker green and the lighter green areas very quickly. This does take a little while, but I found there's something so satisfying about it. I've really surprised myself here. And as much as I love alcohol markers, it can be difficult to find ones that have the lack of intensity of colour. I know you can get pastel ones and so on, but they are not quite as easy to blend. Now I'm using a DeviantArt blender pencil here. I have got Caran d'Ache all blender pencils. I've also got some Prismacolor blending pencils for coloured pencils, and they all work pretty much the same in the same kind of way. This one doesn't tend to leave as shiny a surface though, and you can add more colour easily to the top of this one. Whereas with the others, they tend to leave that shiny surface, and it can be hard if you wanted to come back and add a bit more colour. I know you can get blending solutions like Gamsol and Zest-It and so on. I can't use them. They work really well, but I can't use them because they set my asthma off. And with these, you don't have to press hard with them. It is about, I'm working in kind of smallish circles or in the direction I want the colour to blend, and the pencil does the work for me. I don't need to press very hard, for which my joints are eternally grateful, I can tell you that much. So we've got that there. So already, we move that around a bit. That's beginning to have some colour and some life in it. These little circles of the little seeds, I am going to make them brown, so I'm going to put some of this ochre in. I'm going to do that to all of them, so I'm putting this in a circle towards the top. But I've got another ochre in my pencil pot. I've picked out some colours I'd like to use, so I may choose different colours for the leaves. I think I've got all of those circles. And I'm going to use the mid terracotta to put a darker colour at the bottom. So I'm going to have the shadow towards the bottom. I do tend to prefer a sharper but not a totally sharp point on my pencil, because the slightly more rounded point doesn't dig into the paper like a very sharp one. You don't get those tracks and marks. So I can be very heavy-handed. I also don't break the point so easily. I'm just going back with this ochre colour just to add some more of it and to pop it over the top of the brown. And then, that's okay. I'm checking the tip of the blender pencil, because sometimes it picks up a lot of colour. It's got a bit on there, but if it blends in, I'm fine with that. And I'm starting from the lighter colour and blending outwards into a circle just to blend these together. The nice thing about these as well is I can go back and add highlights with either metallic pens or jelly roll pens or ink, and it should stick to the surface without too much problem. So there, we've got that going on. So I've got this just from two colours, which makes me very happy. Okie dokes, I do want to use different colours for these leaves, and what I've got here is I've got a grey-green in the Derwent. I'm just going to pull my pot of pencils towards me because I want another green, but I want a more bluey green. It's a bit yellowy green. Let me have a look. Got that one. That's quite nice actually. That might work. It's a bit blue. Got one that's a little bit greener. That's too blue. This is my problem, is that I've got ones that are more yellowy green, so I've got that one. Let me have a look at that one. That one would work nicely, but I do need to sharpen it. The sharpener I've got is a Prismacolor one. I have many sharpeners all over the house, even though I don't often use coloured pencils. Okay, so with these leaves, I'm going to start at the base and I'm going to add the darkest colour. And up the sides a little bit, and I am going to put just a little bit of shadow on either side of those little fingers. And I'm starting light because I know I can always add more. So I am using a light hand here. So if I start by going around the outside edge there, then I can add the bit at the bottom. Just going around the outer edge before I do anything else at the base, and then I can just add that in. And this is the last one. So I'm just going to add some colour here. And this is the lighter green. Actually, I quite like these two together. They're a nice contrast to the yellow greens of those curly leaves. And I'm pressing quite hard with this actually, because the colour isn't dark. I'm sure it's the pastel set of colours from Brett Funer. They have quite a few. They're really quite inexpensive, but they actually colour really quite nicely. I'm no expert with coloured pencils. If you know me, if I want to add colour normally, I would prefer to do it digitally because I make such a mess with colours. But I think by working digitally, I'm beginning to understand what colours I like to use together, and understanding how much I like the more muted colours, the softer, less saturated colours for work like this. And you're going softer, less saturated with that howling green. Yep. Compared to what I would ordinarily have done, yep, that's more soft and muted, honestly. Said I can always go back and add colour, and I realise that I need to with these darker areas at the base. And I am just doing that and paying attention to where they overlap as well now, and making sure that I get plenty of shadow, well, you know, darker colour in areas where we've got overlapping taking place. Overlapping, or where areas connect one to the other. Right, so I'm going to just clean this off on the inside back cover of my sketchbook. That's what they're for. And then I can just blend all of this together to get a smoother kind of colour blend. I am picking up some of my ink. Unfortunately, that is inevitable. I think I need to try and remember to leave the tiny details off until I've added colour, and come back then with these little dots and so on. It is what it is, and it is sketchbook work. But I also know that if I were to scan this in with the colours on here, I could pick these colours up and use them digitally. I might have to redraw this, but it won't take me too long to redraw. I love watching the magic of watercolours. I love seeing the colours spread and mix on damp paper and so on. But watercolours really vex me. Ink tints are okay, but I tend to use them in a very simplistic way. All my colouring is very simplistic, and shading and so on to a degree. Okay, for these bands, I do want to do them in a golden brown. So I'm putting down this darker ochre, but I know I've got, no, not that one. Where is it? I know that somewhere in here, can't see it. Why can't I see it? I haven't. I thought I put it in here. Oh yeah, I have. I've got a yellow ochre here, which is a much more yellowy colour. So I'm going to put that in the centre of these arches. I'll use the slightly darker one on the edge of this, overlapping it just a little bit. And then I'm going to use terracotta at the end. So we'll get a more golden feel about this, or I do want to just overlap. Remembering I want to have the darkest areas where they're overlapped by objects or where they butt up against another object in the design. Like here. And I just want to feather the colour out over the lighter colour. So I'm putting lots of colour down right next to where they touch another object. And then I'm easing off on how much colour there is as I blend on top, add colour on top of that yellow ochre. And just keep going back until I've got this as much as I like. It takes a little while, but it's best to take that little time because it saves, you know, it saves you making mistakes. To say, you can erase coloured pencil to a degree, but I always think it's best that you don't have to, if you can avoid having to do something like that, because it doesn't really work. This paper will take a light wash of colour quite happily, but it's not designed for anything much, so it will buckle a bit. The coloured one I showed you before, the paper I think it's actually pretty smooth now because it's been kept inside the sketchbook closed up. Okay, so I'm going to do some background here, and I think I try to keep to as simple a colour scheme as possible. So I've got greens and yellows, yellowy browns. So I think I'm going to head towards some blues here. So I'm just looking for some soft, gentle blues. I've got this one here, which is smoke blue, which is heading towards a purpley colour, but I'm happy with that. So it should be quite light. So it's a sort of like bluey grey. That one. Like that one, that's horizon blue actually. They won't work together, so I'll pop that one back in. That one or that one. That one possibly. That one looks too dark. That one's definitely too dark. That one's darker. So we'll go with this one. So just think that putting blue here. The problem with this in some ways is that the paper isn't white. It is a creamy off-white, a yellowy off-white. So it will colour, add colour to these, but that will actually work for me because it will add a more vintagey feel to it. It will age it, or, you know, give you that kind of vintage, grunchy, old feel. Not entirely. The coloured pencils are fairly opaque, but you still have that under colour showing through. So I've got these little bits of blue here, so I'm just going to blend them through, light to dark. This also stops, the blender pencil stops the coloured pencils from smudging onto other pages or on, around them themselves. That kind of fixes them in place. And I think that's where I might leave them. I think this little bit of a background here I might actually do with Inktense. How long's the video? It's 55 minutes. Okay, let's head towards a... What colour is this? That's bright blue. I don't want bright blue. I'm looking for a grey. Hoping for a Payne's grey if I can find a Payne's grey. Don't be silly. I pick my potter pencils, my Inktense pencils up. I got pots of pencils everywhere. I wasn't going to say everywhere. I was going to say something else. It was probably a naughty word. Deep blue, iron blue, peacock blue. It's typical, isn't it? Iron green, Payne's grey, yay! And I do like the Payne's grey in the Inktense. So for this, I'm going to just put small amounts of Inktense. Put a bit much there, but it is water soluble. Around the edges and where these objects are at the edge, so we get a colour, like a shadow around them. So let me have a look at that. I've just got a water brush here. This is a Kuretake Zig one. Just getting some water flowing from it. And then what I want to do is to activate this, and I'm just going to pull the colour gently out towards the centre so that it will, hopefully will keep the edge dark at the edge, where I've put the Inktense, but then we get a lighter area in the middle. Just cleaning this off on my hand because I haven't got any paper towel or a cloth here we can do that with, but my hand will cope. So we've got that there. That will dry, hopefully. And I am just picking some of the colour up there, and I'm going to do the same here underneath. I think that will work quite nicely. I'm going to leave this perhaps a little bit along the bottom edge just to add a hint of shadow there. I think I can do this more there. So let's have a look and see how this will work. It'll work quite quickly because if it dries, once Inktense dries, it's permanent. You can't move it anymore. And with Inktense, like with coloured pencils, it's always best to start off with a little bit because you can always add more. Always say better to be safe than sorry, as they say. It's a bit slow moving there, I think, but I think I'll get away with it. So that is okay. It's got to dry before I can do anything else. But that's the only Inktense I'm going to use because it would be just that much quicker. And those little flowers, I'm tempted, once they've dried, once this paper's dried, it's almost dry there, to use some gold glitter gel pen in there, because I think that would take it back to feeling very medieval. So I've got, this is a Uniball Signo gold glitter gel pen. I'm just going to fill these. Even though this paper isn't totally dry, this gel pen won't bleed into the damp. It is water reactive, so if I wanted to come back and add more colour with Inktense, I wouldn't be able to. But I can just fill these little petals in with some gold. Just give that beautiful, vibrant sparkliness. This makes me feel now I want to do some monograms. Perhaps I will later. Backgrounds like this. Just so simple. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine isn't perfect. Far from it. You might be able to see if I pick it up. You can see the sparkle there. If I feel I need to come back and put black lines in again, I can always do that. So let's have a look here. We need a little one there. And the lovely thing about these pens is that the coloured background will show through a little bit with the glitter. And so where they're on the darker area, they will look a little bit darker, so you get that variation in tone with them, which I quite like. Of course, you could use anything you like. I just have a fondness for using metallics with artwork from time to time. I think I'm feeling more and more confident about doing it. I think it's how you do it that matters. I have got metallic gouache, metallic watercolour paints here and so on, but I'm so much better with a pen than I am with a paintbrush. So watercolour is really for me to play with on a day when I just want to watch colour move and see what happens, and mesmerised by the way watercolours work. Sometimes even perhaps making backgrounds I could draw on later on, but not necessarily have to. So there we go. I'll just pick it up again so you can see the sparkle and shine on there. Works, doesn't it? It just looks, I just like that. That really, yeah, genius move, Angela. Even I admit that's a genius move. That needs to dry for a while before I can close my sketchbook. But I am going to say thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed this and that you've gained something from it today. Let me just zoom out a bit so we can see this in its entirety, maybe, with those over. And I hope you give drawing something like this. This is only small. I'll tell you how big it is now. In centimetres, this square is 7.5 centimetres. And in inches, it's just a little bit short of 3 inches square. So it is only a tiny little box, but it's really nice because it's given me an idea of colours I could put together, patterns. These background patterns are now intriguing me and I want to do more work with them, and especially using metallics. So thank you for joining me. I really do hope the sound is going to be okay. If it's not, you will never see this video. Well, won't. I may replicate that again, but if you do see it, the sound's okay. So take care, look after yourselves and find time to be creative. Ta-ra for now. Bye.